Hi guys, welcome to the Hype Show. I'm calling it Hype Show because I just said to Zach here, I need to get a little bit hyped up for this game. Come on, Zach, hype me up. It's England versus New Zealand. Why should I be excited?
Well, you should be excited because there's a lot of history in this game, as you know, Rich. Kiwis have got a lot of motivation to draw on very quickly.
Hmm.
If we think back to 2019, that famous picture, that famous image of Owen Farrell, with that little cheeky
Oh,
smirk during the haka.
yeah, that'll wind you up a tree. That's
So
on my thumbnail already, I tell you.
good, good, good.
And the
So
and the
we're
word
hot.
revenge.
And the word revenge, yes. No, we're very hyped for this game. I think the All Blacks have come a long way in a year, and it's going to be
Yeah,
interesting to see if they can put it all together in this game.
absolutely. Look, I am looking forward to it, definitely. I mean, watching England last week live, they have come a long way team wise. Their team
Yeah,
structure, got to give it to them, was good against Argentina. They were a bit all over the place, and they admitted they hadn't got into England zone yet. So that
yeah.
looks good, and I'm fairly hopeful about their set piece, and the defense and that sort of thing. The thing I just worries me is on paper the number of game breakers New Zealand have compared to England. Where do you see in the lineups there being a bit of a difference?
In the lineups, look, we have to start with front row. So I think the All Blacks have now, sorry, on the forward pack, the All Blacks have now settled on a forward pack that favors go forward and physical dominance. So I feel like, I mean, the old adage is true. If the All Blacks can get front football, it really sets the backs up for a dangerous game. So they're certainly targeting that area. I like seeing Dalton Papali'i in there as opposed to Sam Cane. I think that gives us just a little bit more in the breakdown. And Scott Barrett, obviously at six, a failed experiment at the Rugby World Cup, but
Hmm.
he's a different player. I think now he's one of the mainstays of this All Blacks team. So I can see a bruising encounter. At least the England forward pack are in for a bit of a bruiser this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I put the title "Revenge" on my thumbnail because the last time these sides met was, of course, at the World Cup. England, New Zealand just don't play each other very much, largely due to political reasons. But a lot of these players did play in that match. Retallick, Whitelock, Scott Barrett, Mwanga, all these guys, Bowden Barrett. Even though it's a newish team, there's plenty of old wounds there and scores to be
Yeah,
settled. However, what I would say is something for me to grab onto as an England fan. If New Zealand decide to go direct, that is something England could go toe to toe with them with.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so there's a danger if the All Blacks go do what they did to Wales, for example, maybe
Mm.
England could deal with that a bit better than if they opened up a bit more. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, sure. Probably right. Probably right. I do think looking at this English squad, particularly the back line, it looks like you're lacking a little bit of strike there, just to my eye. I think there's opportunities for the likes of Rico Ioane to have a really, really good game here with his pace on the outside. But turn that around as well. I think the All Blacks have been susceptible to a bit of width as well in play. So, I would have preferred to see defensively, probably see an ALB, Anton Leonard-Brown there to shut down sort of that quick shift to the right. But with Rico Ioane there, you get a lot of pace. So I think that's certainly a danger area for England to watch out for.
Yeah, no, I had ALB in my selection earlier in the week as well, but he's
Mm.
on the bench. Um, but yeah, I think just strike runners wise for England, who do you fear from that English team individually? Because that's kind of my question: is are there enough game breakers in there? So from an outsider, who actually are you genuinely worried about, rather than just trying to make an England fan feel a bit better about themselves?
Uh, Look, I don't see a lot of strike in the midfield. Obviously, Manu is he can get over Manu Tuilangi can get over the gain line, so that's great. But there's just Owen Farrell lacks that sort of strike. I'd be looking at the likes of Johnny May. I know he's lost a yard or two of pace, and also Freddie Stewart is one player that I think can break the game open. And as I say, down that 13, 11, 13, 14 channel, there is real opportunity. So I would be saying if you get Freddie Stewart on the outside, sort of coming through that channel, then there's some open opportunities there.
Yeah, I've got a feeling from watching them play a couple of times now. I think they might go for the crossfield kick fairly early. They were practicing it against Japan when they didn't need to, as such. I think what you'll find is they'll hit up, go through the likes of Tuolangi and try and manufacture May or Stewart out wide to contest against Clark possibly. I think we might watch out for that one.
Yeah. That's strategically, if I was England, that's one area I'd be focusing in on is Caleb Clark. He's susceptible to errors, particularly in sort of defensive high balls. And, I think there's a real opportunity there. That being said, I like the look of Mark Talia. I think, you'll sort of look at this team sheet and think, okay, that's probably where the inexperience is. But I look at his game more like a Makazole Mapimpi. He's just rock solid, doesn't let you down, low error rate as well, and has a bit of pace about him as well. So I think if they target the Caleb Clark wing, they'll have more success than if they target the Mark Talia wing.
I agree. I've been watching Talia in Super Rugby for a while now, and he plays like an international. Do you know what I mean? He's like very low error, right? But great finishes, of course, but he composed. He looks experienced, even though he's not played for the All Blacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, not a problem there. Okay. Anything else in the team you like the look of? We've got some new players down there. We've got Sototo in there as well.
Yeah.
Happy about
when
that?
I look at the bench, I'm not sure about the David Havilianto and Leonard Brown.
Weird,
there's
isn't
just
it?
not a lot of strike there. It's a bit weird. I prefer, and I expect this come World Cup time next year, a Damien McKenzie, someone with a bit of strike, a bit of versatility to come in off the bench. I think what they're favouring here is that you've got versatility in the starting 15. So you can move a Geordie Barrett around. You can move a Rico Ioane around. So I think they're sort of playing from that angle. Great to see TJ back. Frizzell and Hoskins Sotutu, I think, as back row cover is a bit of a statement of intent that the All Blacks are looking for big bodies to continue going for 80 minutes. Nepo Lalala is probably a player that I've seen has dropped off last couple of years. So, I personally don't think he's up to international level at this stage of his career. But they're persevering with him. So, but then you've got Toke Aho, fantastic player, probably should start, but gives you strike off the bench. So good option there.
Those two scare me. Takiaho and Sotutu off the bench. They worry me later on, definitely.
And how about the England bench? What are your thoughts there?
Well, it's better than last week. And like I said, it was a good team performance last week, but the massive takeaway, again, walking around Twickenham at the beginning, you could hear people kind of grumbling about how boring some of the players were. And when they read out the bench and when the players came on, they groaned. The home team who was winning groaned. It's better. Stewart's a stronger prop. I like Ribbons. He played well last week. Jack Willis is a hell of a player. So those guys, I'm looking forward to coming on. But it just doesn't excite. But that's the question. Should it excite? It looks like England are playing a system here rather than the talent, because they've sent home Murley, they've sent home Freeman, who I really thought should have been playing, and he's playing players he thinks can play the system, which if they get it right for the whole 80, they could win with this team for sure. But if they're chasing the game and they want to make a break or something out of nothing or a counter-attack, then I would prefer to have, a Bowden Barrett, Surveyor doing that sort of thing. So if they're chasing, I'm a little worried about England. If they stay on top, they got a great chance.
Sure. So how do you see, I guess, what are the keys to beating this England team?
Okay. Giving tips to New Zealand, not like they need it, but I would say just be careful not to play into England's hands. And, well, England's hands, but if the All Blacks stay nice and composed, I think chances will present themselves when there's a mistake. The All Blacks were so good on the counter-attack. They did it last week against Scotland. They've got the players to do it. I think they wait, bide their time and then swoop. And I'm not sure England have got the pace to deal with them if they do that. What I didn't like about the All Blacks early in Foster's reign is they were pushing it far too early. And I think they just need to stay composed, and I think they're good enough to take the chance when it comes.
I'll give you my views on how to beat the All Blacks. So
Okay.
to beat the All Blacks, yeah, I think firstly you've got to start fast. I think the All Blacks have looked really good in recent games. Getting some points on the board early. I think you've got to slow down the breakdown. Ireland showed that. Argentina showed that. The key to beating the All Blacks is slow down breakdown. And then, as I say, I think that 13 wing channel opens up some opportunities. I think you'd probably target Caleb Clark in the air is one way for some defensive lapses. And you've got to play 80 minutes. So, England will really need to stay locked in for the full 80 if they want to beat the All Blacks. But those are areas that teams have been successful with the All Blacks this year.
Yeah.
I can see sort of the same frailties. One other point I'll touch on is discipline has been a real problem for the All Blacks.
Yeah.
So if you can disrupt them to the point where they start to give away penalties that really drag Scotland back into the game, possibly get a card or two, then you're really opening up some opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, on a positive, Farrell's kicking like a dream at the moment, so he could take a stack of points. I kind of wanted Simmons to stay at 8 and Jack Willis to play as well, potentially, because he's phenomenal at the breakdown. And a Curry, Willis, and Simmons back row is scary fast. So with Billy, all he's really doing is trucking it up, which is okay, but I think they might have missed a trick there, although he can come on, of course.
So, what are some other talking points? So, obviously, a couple of players playing their hundredth Test matches here. So, I mean, from a Brodie Retallick perspective, I'll touch on him if you like. And
yeah, go for it.
This partnership now with Sam Whitelock, record-breaking locking partnership. They've just in this game they overtake Bucky's Botha and Victor Matfield for a number of Tests played together. So. They've been around a long time. Brodie Retallick has been around a long, long time. And, just reward for a player that has been, given a lot to the black jersey. So I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, he's an absolute phenomenon. I mean, no one's managed to break those guys up for any length of time, have they?
Yeah,
and they just keep coming back to them because they're just class, absolute class. I mean, Retallick's obviously got a phenomenal physique and frame, but he's skillful and, he's, just two class operators.
He's mobile.
Yeah, still got it. And then we've got Farrell, who's 100 caps as well. And do you know what? Yeah. I've got a huge amount of respect for Farrell, even though I think both of us kind of say, he doesn't have a lot of pace, but it's not his fault he's being played at 12. Just imagine that. You're a 10, he plays 10 for Saracens, literally all the time. And every time he comes to England, he's asked to play a different position. And he gives his absolute all. Do you know what I mean? That's so tough, isn't it? Not to play your favourite position for your country.
Yeah.
And last week, he was amazing. He was everywhere. He can't run faster because he can't do that. But everything else he did as well as he could possibly have done. So hats off to the guy.
Yeah, I'd just probably add as well, I mean, with Geordie Barrett there at 12, bigger body, bit of go forward. But I think Farrell's defence is one thing that can neutralise at least that running game of Geordie Barrett. So, it's going to be an interesting clash. I, have watched Farrell from afar for, some time. And, he's been able to get under the skin of Kiwis a good few times. But we genuinely respect that about players, Bit of niggle, give it your all. And, great to see him getting 100 caps as well.
Yeah. The classic, the sort of guy you want on your team and the sort of guy you hate who you're playing against.
Exactly right.
How do you call it? We said we'd do predictions, so let's go for it.
Yeah, look, the All Blacks at this stage of Northern Tours are normally starting to fade a little bit. Normally on the back of, a long season. I don't see that in this team. I see a team that has been building consistently over the years, over this year, have been under the microscope and are now coming out the other end. They've targeted this game. I think you're going to get a massive performance from the All Blacks. And if I'm honest with you, Rich, I think I predict the All Blacks by 15 points.
15, okay. Yeah, that's pretty big. I just see a game-breaking moment coming from New Zealand anywhere, for any point. So I think New Zealand by 7. Awesome. I'll chat to you soon, Zach, after the game, hopefully. And I'll see you then.
Good to be on, Rich. Thanks, mate.